In order to really experience life, I think you have to face death. In order to really be moved emotionally, I think you have to experience pain. On my 40th birthday, I shared watching the Alexander McQueen documentary and how that completely moved me and changed my life. And he experienced a lot of pain in his life, but through his pain was amazing design and beauty and light in the darkness. This is the spirit upon which I'm sharing these 45 brutal life lessons. I think the lessons in these are deeper, more profound. I've considered them at length through some of my own challenges and difficulties and pains. 45 brutal life lessons from an aging man. So it's my birthday in a few hours' time, and I don't like partying. I'm not particularly social, and I get really introspective every year on my birthday. And for maybe the last 10 years, I've been sharing money and life lessons as I ponder life in my rocking chair. So this year is a bit different. Well, obviously the list gets longer as I get older, but I want to share with you brutal life lessons that are also beautiful. Something that Andrew Tate said to me that triggered me, actually. He said, "You're not a man until your father dies." And I've actually looked in the eyes of my dad, who's old, and I've imagined his death, and it's painful, but it's also beautiful, because when my dad dies, it will immortalize him for me forever. And I used to be very positive, but behind the positivity is a masking of the reality of the shadow and darker side of life. So I've been in business 17 years, and I've seen a lot, made hundreds of millions, $250 million in revenue, had to let a third of my workforce go in lockdown, seen booms and busts in the market, observed the nature of people, faced my own insecurities and vulnerabilities and deep-rooted shame. When I sit in these introspective moments, usually halfway through the year, New Year, and my birthday, which coincides with sort of Christmas and New Year time, so it's a long moment of introspection, I consider what life is really like, not how I would like life to be. I consider what are universal laws and not just man-made manipulatable laws. You can't break laws of the universe. Man makes up laws to suit themselves and then changes those laws to suit themselves. I believe, for example, one of my lessons is that the purpose of life isn't happiness. This is a man-made fantasy. And so I think to fully grasp and experience life and not wrestle with life, but go in the slipstream of life, I think it's about understanding the reality of people, life, the world, and the universe. Accepting what it is instead of expecting it to be something else. The greater the difference between the reality and your fantasy, the greater the pain. And so this is a very different type of episode, or even double or triple parter, depending on how long this takes. And more introspective than maybe you're used to from me. And that's exactly what this should be. So, number one. Now, I'm going to read them because I've been spending weeks considering them, writing them, editing them, deleting them. Normally, when you see me do content, there's no notes, it's conversations, it's unscripted. But this is scripted, and it needs to be scripted. So, number one, brutal life lesson from most painful life experiences, personal experiences, is apparently honest people will lie to you if the lie is easier than telling the truth. And you may judge others for lying to you. But if it's easier for you to lie than it is to tell the truth, you will lie. Humans lie. Lying is not moral. It's not good or bad. There can be good lies, there can be bad lies. There can be a lie that some perceive is good and others perceive as bad. But humans lie. They do. And to expect them not to lie is delusion and friction against the laws of the universe. I've interviewed hundreds of people, and people who I've got to know since, who I would deem to be pretty honest people, lied to my face in interviews. And when I take that personally, I judge that. But now I just know that that's what people do. Like, to protect your child, you would lie. To feed your family and protect your livelihood, you will lie. People lie. No one owes you the truth. Okay, number 2. People are not loyal to you. They are loyal to themselves and their highest values. No one owes you anything. No one is supposed to live their life in loyalty to you. Everyone is supposed to live their life in loyalty to their highest values and who they are. Now, you can meet people where they're at, and you can have similar values, and you can have good morals and ethics and behave like you'd like to be behaved to, treat others like you'd like to be treated. But no one is loyal to you. That is not a law of the universe. That is your own deluded, made-up law. Why should people be loyal to you? And when you understand that they're not loyal to you, and you know that they're loyal to themselves, when you find out what's most important to them, you can find out where their loyalties lie. And there you can create good relationships, or you can even influence people when you know this. I'll give you an example. No one works for me. I pay them, pay hundreds of people, but they don't work for me. They work for themselves. No one works for me. Okay, number 3. Most people want you to fail. They want you to fail because your failure makes them feel more comfortable about their own failures. If you fail to achieve your dreams, it makes them more comfortable about not chasing theirs or letting theirs go or selling them out. And you want everyone to have your back. You expect your inner circle to want you to win. Most people don't. It makes them feel uncomfortable. And that's just a reality. And I've come to terms with that, and I'm okay with that. And in fact, I quite like that. Because if you don't want me to win and you want me to fail, you've just given me a motivation and a reason to not fail, to want to win even more. I don't expect anyone to enjoy my success. Number 4. The easiest way to unhappiness is to believe that the purpose of life is happiness. I don't sit here pretending to know the meaning of life. After all, the more I learn, I realize there's so much I don't know. The more I understand, the more I realize I know nothing. However, there is a huge delusion that happiness is the purpose of life. I believe that happiness is the reward and an outcome for achieving something meaningful. Also, how do you even define happiness? There's probably like 47 different types of happiness. Elation, arousal, adoration, contentment, excitement, exhilaration, comfort. So how do you even define happiness in the first place? I believe our emotions are feedback. And we get good emotions in response to safety, and we get bad emotions, as we perceive them, in response to threat. Though in that moment of threat, you want the painful response, you don't want the comfortable, warm, happy, fluffy response. So people are always asking me, well, Rob, when is it ever enough? It's never enough, because the purpose of life isn't happiness. The purpose of life is growth. The purpose of life is progress. The purpose of life is evolution. The purpose of life is self-actualization, to maximize your potential and individuality. These are some more deeper things I believe that are the purpose of life. Number 5, if you want an easy life, you have to voluntarily face hard challenges. Hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. If you put off dealing with a challenging problem, that problem gets bigger. So if you go for the short-term fix of comfort and ease over the harder but more rewarding and meaningful challenge, just remember, easy now, hard later. Hard now, easy later. So daily, intentionally and voluntarily face difficult challenges, have difficult conversations, do things you've been putting off, jump in the ice bath, get down the gym, do a circuit training session instead of just a few weights looking in front of the mirror posing. Choose hard things for an easy life, which is linked to number 6. What's worth it isn't easy, and what's easy isn't worth it. I'll just leave that one there. What's worth it isn't easy, and what's easy isn't worth it. Number 7. Everything you don't like or you don't want is 100% your fault, 100% your responsibility. You attracted it. It's the lesson that you need. There's a blessing in the stressing. But as well as everything that you're attracting that you don't want to be, do, or have as being your fault and your responsibility, it is also your greatest source of opportunity. Now, in some instances, I understand that some things are not your fault. Bill Gates says, if you're born poor, that's not your fault. If you die poor, that's your fault. Or sometimes it's, if you're born poor, that's not your mistake. If you die poor, that's your mistake. So most things that happen in your life are because of you, are a result of your thoughts, decisions, and actions. And they are 100% your fault and responsibility. Some things, they're bad luck, they're serendipity or bad timing or things that you could not control. But you can immediately control your responsibility of how you respond to it, even if you can't control it happening. You can't control the direction of the wind, but you can set your sail accordingly. So owning everything that happens to you means you put yourself in the seat of responsibility rather than victimhood. Number 8, all your fears are just imagination, and all other people's fears are just projection. When COVID and lockdown happened, some people very close to me were very scared, and the fear was sweating through their pores, and I allowed their fear to seep onto me. I allowed the media, their fear or propaganda, fear-mongering, to infiltrate me and create fear in me. But that was their projecting their fear onto me. It wasn't my reality, but I made it my reality because I allowed their projection to become my perception. All fear is a perception, and it's an imagination, because fear is anxiety about the future. It is an emotion, a warning about something that hasn't happened yet. And the problem with how we've evolved is humans have evolved so much slower than technology that we're still prehistoric in many of our fear responses. And so we get a fear response to public speaking, or a trigger response to a criticism in comments on our social media, in the same way that it would be like our life being threatened 10,000 years ago. Life's gone too fast for us to catch up. So therefore, 99% of the things that you worry about will never happen and don't ever happen. And therefore, almost all your fears are imagination, and other people's fears are projection. Number 9, everything you judge in others and you disown them for, you have done yourself. Everything that triggers and pisses you off about others, you have done to other people. So I always like to remember that if I get frustrated, because no one can piss you off without your permission. I was actually about to say, when people piss me off, I like to remember that the thing I'm judging them for, I've also done. And it neutralizes and balances the emotion. But no one can piss me off without my permission. Number 10, security has nothing to do with money and everything to do with resourcefulness and adaptability. There are no lack of resources. There is only a lack of resourcefulness. There is no such thing as I can't. There is only how can I. There is no such thing as I can't afford it. There is how can I afford it. So if you're lacking or failing or believing that you can't do something, just remember it's your reality, not the reality. And if you ask better questions, you'll get better answers. Number 11, the best form of revenge is not served cold. It's not blocking them. It's not becoming a higher value man and showing them what they've lost. It's not total domination of competition. The best form of revenge is kindness, especially when you hurt the most. Because revenge never ends, and there's nothing to forgive. A lot of people say that, it's powerful to forgive. But the concept of you forgiving someone is the assumption that they have wronged you. No one's wronged you. So therefore, there's nothing to forgive. There is just kindness. Number 12, in every stressing hides a blessing. So the stressing is the lesson. The stressing is the teaching. You want life. You want money. You want amazing experiences. Be careful what you wish for, because you will be given what you want in the disguise of what you need. So what you need and what you want are different. You think you want something, you need something else. The universe is far more wise than you, and it will give you exactly what you want, but in the way that you need it. And generally, all your biggest blessings are hidden in your stressings. Number 13, people treat you exactly the way you teach them to treat you. So teach them well. No one treats you in a way that you haven't given them permission for. If you have no boundaries, then they will know no boundaries of you. If they're interrupting you all the time, that's because you didn't teach them that they shouldn't. You didn't give them consequences of overstepping your boundaries. So if you want people to treat you a certain way, you have to show them the way. You have to teach them the way. Number 14, if you have any issues that you do not express, that's 100% your responsibility. If you have a problem and it goes unsaid, that is not their fault for creating the problem. That is your fault for not expressing the problem. Now, kindness and love are expressing your problems and challenges and wants and desires in a way that other people can relate to and find important to them. I'm not saying going around and shouting and screaming at everyone, because there are repressors and there are expressors. And some people, they're too critical, and other people, they're internally self-critical. But it is no one else's fault for not being or doing to you something that you didn't express, because they can't read your mind. Number 15, any conflict you avoid now will come back bigger and harder and badder later. I'm a big fixing problem solver type of person. So I sometimes, in my relationships with my wife and women before, long time ago, sometimes a woman would want to express to me, for me to listen, and I immediately want to fix their life. And often staff come to me with challenges, and I immediately want to fix their problems instead of allowing them the gift of solving the problems themselves, because sometimes they just want to be heard. The good thing about that is I don't really leave too many unresolved conflicts because I don't like it, because I want to fix it. But anything you repress must be expressed. You cannot ignore problems. Problems don't go away until you transcend them. They only disappear and dissolve when you've mastered them, not when you hide from them and run away from them. So there's some things you're putting off now that if you go and do them now, some of your problems will be dissolved. But don't be deluded in thinking that they'll go away, because they won't. Number 16, there's ruthlessness and there's toothlessness, and there's no in-between on your way to the top. I think about this a lot in business. Do you need to be ruthless to be successful in business? I think you do. Or at the very least, you need to be decisive. And you have to put out of your mind the fact that this person isn't right for the job, and you have to let them go even though they have a family. There's ruthlessness or toothlessness. There is no in-between. Number 17, the easiest person to lie to is yourself, yet you can't avoid the truth. You know your truth. Your truth doesn't disappear the more you lie to yourself. Your intuition about you as a person and your values and your mission and your purpose, they are within you, and that is your truth. And you can lie to yourself all day, every day. But all that will do is create emotional conflict. The easiest person to lie to is yourself, yet you cannot avoid your own truth. Number 18. If you want the right people in your life, you have to let go of the wrong people out of your life. Vacuum law of prosperity. If you want space for something to come in, you need to make space by pushing something out. So out with the old and in with the new. And what people and situations and mind space and energy are you holding on to that's blocking what you want in. Because often you're desiring something to come in, but there's a block. Remove the block, all of a sudden you allow the thing in. The thing was always there. You just couldn't see it because there was a block. That could be supplier, customer. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's had a client that's just draining her time. And I said, well, let them go then. Oh, but they're a high-paying client. Yeah, but they're in the way of a higher-paying client. And there might be a high-paying client, but they're a high-demanding client. Therefore, they're probably a low-margin client. If you want the right people in your life, you have to let go of the wrong people out of your life. Number 19, being patient is not always a virtue. Sometimes you have to be quick and you have to go for what you want or someone else will take it. And I think that's changed in the last couple of decades. Compounding and longevity, the enduring patience was the way to success. Now, you've got billionaires in their teens and 20s when Bill Gates became the youngest billionaire in his, 50s or 60s. Patience isn't a virtue anymore. You snooze, you lose. Number 20. Learning from your mistakes is dumber and more expensive than learning from the mistakes of others. I don't want to go bust. Never want to go bust. Have never gone bust. I've never lost anyone's money. I'm really proud of that. And okay, if it happened, I'd embrace the lesson. Every stressing hides a blessing. But I don't want to learn what it's like. I'll just talk to loads of my business associates who've been bust and I'll make sure I don't make the same mistakes. And to me, that's just much smarter. You don't have to learn everything yourself and you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself. That's a myth. Number 21. Most people aren't even thinking about you. So stop caring about what they think about you. People are too busy in their own world to care or even think about what you said and what you did and how you look. They're not picking up on your shame and guilt and embarrassment and fear of judgment and ridicule because they're too busy in their own world of stress. So most people aren't thinking about you anyway, so why worry about what they think about you? Number 22. Silence is power, especially when the noise inside your head is loud. I can find interactions and situations very uncomfortable, a negotiation, a conflict or a heated conversation. My instinct from even going back being a child is to avoid the conflict, please the people, make a joke, make light of the situation. But that's often a manifestation of my own weakness. And learning to stay silent and breathing through the painful feelings is power. Your intuition is mostly wrong, especially in something that's new to you. So many people in the world trust your intuition, trust your gut, trust your feelings. I think that's an abdication of responsibility. And I would make this distinction. I think in something you've mastered your whole life, your intuition is probably 99% accurate. After all, you've got decades of experience to fall back on. In something that's human, like relations with other people, I think you should trust your intuition. But in anything else, especially if it's new or you've not done it before or you've messed it up, your intuition is actually the worst thing to trust. You should trust the data, trust the information, trust successful people, and not in that instance your intuition. 24. If you wait for permission, you will never get started. I remember learning in business, probably 17 years ago, beg for forgiveness, don't ask for permission. Every day I'm faced with decisions that I need to make that I know others are probably going to get triggered if I make them. But if I wait, I will miss the opportunity. If you wait for permission, you will never get started. And I often now measure the importance of the decision on how many people is it going to piss off. If this decision won't piss anyone off, it's probably not a strong enough decision. I don't intend to piss people off. I just naturally do it by being me. But the strongest, most bold decisions will often piss off the most people. Here's an interesting thing to think about. A lot of people want permission from dead relatives to go and live their life. Like they're so bound by their parents who passed away many years ago. Now you can't get permission from someone who's not here. So there's only one person you can truly get permission from. So when I say if you wait for permission, you'll never get started, who's the person you actually need to get permission from? It's you, and it's only you. Number 25, people will criticize you no matter what you do, so you might as well do you. they're going to judge you anyway, so you might as well be yourself. You drive a shit rusty car, they'll judge you and mock you. You drive an expensive shiny red supercar, they'll judge you and mock you. Might as well be rich then. Might as well be you if they're going to judge you anyway, because they're going to judge you anyway. The only way you'll never be judged is to never be seen, to never be heard, to never be. Number 26, the more you focus on the problem, the more you manifest the problem. The wall, I'm going to crash into the wall. The wall, I'm going to crash into the wall. Fuck, I crashed into the wall. Step 1, don't avoid the problem. Step 2, face the problem head on. Step 3, clearly define the problem. Step 4, work on the solution. Don't bathe in your pity and misery. Work out the problem as quickly as possible and then bang, get yourself out into solution mode. Number 27, you do not get what you want, you get what you are. There are a million things that you want that you have never received and you probably never will receive. I'm sure you want 100 billion pounds. You're not going to get it. You do not get what you want, you get what you are. Now, I don't know if you've ever achieved something. Let's say you got a black belt or let's say you got a really big payday. Imagine how you felt when you achieved something meaningful to you. Like imagine now how it felt. Imagine your vibration, your frequency, your radiance, your energy, your charisma, your belief. Imagine the positive impact you have on people around you. So the reality is you are it because you have it. So if you want to have it, first you need to become it and then you'll have it. Number 28. If you do not tell people that you're struggling, then you will suffer alone. And I used to suffer alone so much and sometimes still do. And I used to sometimes resent people for not checking in with me that I'm okay or not being able to read my mind to know that I'm struggling. If you do not tell them, if you do not ask for help, how is anyone going to know? So good communication and bravery is opening up and asking for help. And that's not a weakness, that's a strength. Number 29, trust, but double fucking check. 30, it never gets easier. You have to get better, and then it gets easier. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Nothing wants to be easier just to make your life better. Things only become easier when you get better at them. Like I remember I got really stuck on one of the maths books when I was at school. Really stuck, and I just couldn't get past a certain page or problem and kept trying to figure it out myself, and I just got stuck. And I kept just wishing that one day I'd go back to the class and I'd have figured out the problem. No. In the end, you have to go and ask the teacher. And the teacher helps you and you break it down. Then you figure out the solution and then you move forward to the end of the book and then the next book. And that's how life works. You have to figure it out. Life gets better when you get better. Number 31, your reward for solving a problem is a bigger fucking problem. The world needs you to be the highest potential, most self-actualized version of yourself because you are more useful to humanity and you are better for survival of the species. So you don't get peace and joy and ease when you solve a problem because that doesn't make you stronger. The thing that makes you stronger is overcoming problems. Break it down, build it up. Break muscle down, build it up. So your reward for solving a problem is the next level. New level, new devil. And it's only delusion that expects that once you've sorted this problem out, then your reward is contentment and happiness and comfort and security and warm, fuzzy support from everyone. That's your naive fantasy. The reality is bigger fish to fry. Build a bigger rocket. Number 32, people will always let you down if you think it's their job to lift you up. No one can live up to your expectations of them. People are only and always themselves. They are never who you want them to be. If you've ever had children, hopefully you've got this lesson because you have this naive fantasy that your kids will be a mini-me. They will be everything that you wanted to be, everything that you felt your parents should have done for you but didn't. You're going to repair all the mistakes you perceive your parents made to you and for you. It's going to be different and better this time. You're going to teach them everything you know. They're going to be everything you ever wanted. No, your kids are not you. Your kids are themselves. Expecting anyone to be anything other than themselves is delusion and naivety and pain. The bigger the gap between the reality of life and the universe and your fantasy of it, the bigger the gap, the more the pain. So generally a statement of strength is, it is what it is. Usually people who say, it is what it is, they have come to terms with what is. They are not in a fantasy of what should be, what they want it to be, why wasn't it another way. And the more you expect life to have been something else, and the more you expect people to have been someone else, the more pain you're going to experience in your life. So get to know people. People are pretty predictable. And then expect them to be themselves over and over. Don't hold them to your standards. No one can meet your standards of themselves. They can only meet their own standards. Number 33, before you try to change someone else, check yourself first. Far easier to change yourself than it is someone else. Be the change you want to see. Changing other people. I don't work with people who don't want to change. I don't want to help people make money who don't want to help themselves make money. It is fighting against the laws of the universe to change people. And usually we only want to change people because of our own insecurities. Number 34. If you don't get over your last relationships, your baggage will ruin your new ones. This can be business partners, finance partners, lenders. This can be intimate partners. So many people bring the baggage of all their past relationships into the new relationships. Of course, it's destined to failure. I remember I had this ex-girlfriend in my early 20s, and she used to say, I don't like that. My ex used to do that. And I thought to myself, well, fucking get back with him then. No. But she was expecting me to be like him or not like him, but I am me. And also, thinking aloud, why spend time with people who don't want you to be anything other than what you are? Like, surely we all want to be loved for who we are, accepted for who we are, feel valuable for who we are. You only really want people around you who appreciate you for who you are. People are themselves. They are not your past. They are not your exes. They are not your previous business partners. They are not your failed relationships. They are themselves. Be careful not to bring that baggage in. Number 35, real leadership is finding a solution when everyone else thought there wasn't one. So I think a lot about leadership. I have well over 100 staff in the office. And people say, well, leadership is about helping other people become leaders, or creating the vision, inspiring and building the team. And I would say all these things are true, but if I had to define leadership in one sentence that's more powerful than all of them put together, real leadership is finding a solution when everyone else thought there wasn't one. Number 36, if you don't make money while you sleep, you will be working until you die. A few of these 45 brutal life lessons are from other people. That's one of them, and that's Warren Buffett. I learned this 17 years ago. If you do not make money while you sleep, you will be working until you die. Passive recurring income used to be a luxury, now it's a necessity. Number 37, unless you own your past will always own you. Owning your past means being grateful for it, essentially. Anything you're grateful for, you own. It doesn't own you. Anything you're not grateful for, you disown, and that causes you stress. And remember, the greater the gap between reality and fantasy, the bigger the pain. Therefore, the closer the gap between fantasy and reality, the more presence and poise and balance and gratitude and love. It is what it is a statement of understanding the reality of the situation. Your past is your past, and you are grateful for it, is accepting the reality of the situation, that your past was actually a gift, not a curse. Number 38, money makes a loyal servant, but a tyrannical master. Own money, don't let money own you. Floyd Mayweather said to me, I make money, money doesn't make me. Chris Eubank said to me, money is my bitch. Makes a great servant, but a tyrannical master. Number 39, money isn't everything, but everything is better with money. There's a major delusion in the world that, money doesn't make you happy. Fucking does. Money is important. Money is the greatest tool. If you have a puncture, you need a car jack to get that car up, to change that tire. If you want to get the most out of life, you need to lever the tool of money effectively, because it's our universally exchanged medium of value, our universally agreed medium of exchange. Number 40. Working hard is not enough to be successful. Everyone thinks that they work hard, so clearly most people are delusional. And if working hard were enough, then the coal miners and the grave diggers and the gold miners, not the mine owners, the gold miners work so much harder than the gold mine owners and earn so much less. Nurses would be rich if working hard made you rich. Working hard is not enough. You need to learn what rich people know. You need to learn what successful people know. You need to systems, leverage, automation, scale. Work smart. Number 41. It's better to have tried and loved and lost than it is to have never experienced at all. And I'm very grateful for the difficult things that have happened in my life and the things that I've done that I've felt shame about. The mistakes that I've made, the things that I've broken. After all, they do call me disruptor. But if we only get one life, we want to live it in full technicolor. We want the full tapestry. Okay, number 42. There are human laws and there are universal laws. Human laws can be broken and manipulated. Universal laws cannot. You need to understand man-made laws and work within the constraints of them, but also know which one of the man-made laws you can break and you cannot break. But when it comes to universal laws, they cannot be broken. The law of gravity is the law of gravity. The law of supply and demand is the law of supply and demand. The law of conservation of energy is the law of conservation of energy. If you fight nature, you lose. Nature is far more powerful than you. Learn the laws of nature. Get in the slipstream of nature, and you'll get the most out of life. But know what laws are human and what laws are universal. Number 43. If you fight against what is, then it is not. Just say that one more time. I won't explain it. If you fight against what is, then it is not. Number 44. Fake is becoming so acceptable that people get offended when you keep it real. Let me say that again. I actually got that off social media. Fake is becoming so acceptable that people get offended when you keep it real. I want to acknowledge what Richard has said. I'm very grateful for my past, now awesomely grateful, but I wasn't 4 years ago. And this ties to 2 or 3 points I've made, that your past makes you who you are. In the moment when it's hard, the present, which will become the past, in the moment when it's hard, you can't see why it's good. But in every stressing hides a blessing. And it's often time that gives you the lesson. Because you know when you look back over a divorce or a business breakup or some mistake you made, you know when you look back 3 months ago, oh, you still feel it. A year ago, oh, okay, yeah. There was quite a good lesson there, but a bit painful. 5 years ago, all you can see are the lessons. You even have nostalgia. Wisdom is getting the blessing right in the moment of stressing. And then finally, number 45. I finish all my content with this, so how could this not be my last lesson of 45 years, the aging man that I am? If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. So the only risk is to take no risk at all. I'm going to give you not one but two very special new gifts, new bonuses. I did a lot of introspective writing and creating over Christmas and New Year. I wrote 2 new mini books on money, and I'm going to give them both to you completely for free. And I'm going to share it with you in my Telegram group. So my Telegram group is t.me/Disruptors group. I'm going to share with you not one but 2 brand new money manifestos that I wrote in the 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year. One is on 36 hardcore money saving tips, tricks and hacks. And one are on what I believe to be the best ways to make money and the habits of millionaires and billionaires that you can model to have your best year ever. And that, coming soon, is where you'll find those special gifts from me. We've got some huge guests coming soon. Huge, huge, huge. So just make sure you're subscribed to Disruptors on both video and audio. And also, I've never asked this, but fuck it. If you don't ask, you don't get. That should be on my 46th birthday lessons from my dad. If you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. Would you do me a favour and leave a review? I think in 1,000 episodes, I don't think I've ever asked. Yes, a review. Go on. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.